Fashion comes and goes and style never changes. You'll see in like the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, you're like, okay, here's the main culture, and then here's the counterculture. You have the British invasion. Everything is a remix, and everything comes back to where things once were.
First of all, your inspirations are astounding, and I would like to know where they come from.
My inspiration for my creations, they kind of run the gambit. If you're talking about the style of the clothes themselves, I would call it Maximus Fashion. What I do is DykeMint is a one of one, so that means every piece is its own. It's its own thing. It's its own garment that is never duplicated. So it's one of one, and it's also sustainably thrifted. So everything that me and my wife create, we get from the thrift store or donations or the dump store or rag houses or just things that have been cast off. So it's all, no fast fashion, no new textile creation, and it's all processed by hand. So you're like, okay, I have this overcoat. And am I going to play on its history? Oh, it's this old men's overcoat. Am I gonna subvert that history? Am I gonna bleach it? Am I gonna dye it? Am I gonna sew it? Am I gonna Frankenstein it to make it something completely that you wouldn't, to make it a dress, to completely rewrite its history? Or am I gonna play off its old themes that it's giving me? So now we're kind of at this intersection of like, okay, how do we make things that make people feel cool and that also aren't completely fast fashion and just like contributing to this horrible waste and textile waste that is plaguing the world and ruining the oceans. So when I was in college, I went to Whitman College in Walla Walla, Washington. It's a liberal arts college. For my first years, I didn't declare anything. I just loved learning. And I sort of fell into sculpture because I really like making stuff with my hands. So I go to anime conventions and dress up and make costumes and meet nice people. And, you can make instant connections with people because it's like, oh, you're from that show. I like that show. And it was a lot easier way for like a shy, or not so, cool kid to make friends. My thesis was actually two 20-foot gigantic beetle sculptures that I had installed, one of them on the side of a building and the other on the ground by the art building. And it was a great time to be an artist because it's like, oh, this is exactly what art history teaches us. I was like, what if I just started just printing on some clothes and like making some humorous pieces? That's something you'll always see with DykeMint to this day, is that no matter like, it can be something like beautiful and like, referential like this, but I really love the tongue-in-cheekness. You'll always see a lot of humor in our pieces. So I started making out like kind of humorous, fun, colorful clothing, and then it just snowballed. I kept making clothes, and then I kept selling at at anime conventions. There are these artist alleys so that independent artists can sell their own art, fan art and things like that. So I would go and I would make a booth and I would sell things, and people were like, wow, I really like this. And then that just kept happening. I didn't actually get into fashion till maybe 2.5, 3 years into a fashion brand did I start even looking remotely fashionable. It's very hard to be a butch lesbian designer because it's like, oh, men don't think like, there's like, oh, gay guys, that's who you want advice on your dress, but you don't go like, oh yeah, lesbians that wear flannel and chop wood. For the media in a lot of years, it's like you have the stereotype that lesbians are very unfashionable. They're outside of the male gaze, so they're not attractive because you can't get with them. So men don't have to be nice to you or think you're smart or like you or treat you nicely. It's a very different thing. So it's an uphill battle to be like, okay, how do I get everybody, because to wear my clothes, and to men to feel good wearing my clothes and be like, that's cool because, as a butch lesbian, I am displaying masculinity, but it is different from a cis male perspective.
How did you learn the business aspect of running a business?
Oh, on the ground, on my feet. Because you're making money at these cons and you have this cash, you have this, and you're like, okay, I kind of, I was working at a restaurant at the time, and then it was to the point where I was making so many clothes because you have to make 70 pieces at least to do a convention, to like have stuff to sell, and that's minimum numbers. and and you have to price it correctly. How long did I work on this? How much was it to source these materials? How many hours did I cry over this? How long did this take to formulate? I'll thrift something from 3 years ago and it doesn't get made into a piece until today. Like, because I wait until it speaks to me, like, this will come out to me. I'll know what to put on this. Let's see how hard it is to start an LLC, to trademark your business. And then a lot of it is the social media aspect of it. I'm constantly working because you're constantly making art, then you're on social media, then you're going to these cons every 2 weeks, you're doing these fashion shows. I mean, me and my wife, have done 10, 20-piece collections throughout the entire year. Anything that is eliciting an emotion is good art. It doesn't have to be good art because, oh, it's making me feel something good, or, oh, it's making, like, it's just that it's eliciting such power. That is kind of what we go into seeing pieces. We're like, oh, there's something so striking about it, whether it's like, oh, it's so horrible, it's so dated, or it's so now, or it's so thick, or, oh, I have no idea what I'd be able to do with this, but I need to figure it out like a puzzle. It was really important to have a track that is as out there and as vocal and as in your face and maximal as the clothing we were presenting, to be like, look at all these different clothings.
Where did you meet your wife?
College. Well, that's actually a really funny story. Because she is not much younger than me. We're only 2 years apart, but we're a bunch of grades apart. So I'm in the sculpture studio and I see her sanding something, and I'm looking at her and she looks at me and she's like, what? We didn't really talk to each other her whole entire first year. And then 2 years later, we're getting married as her thesis in school by the president. The president is marrying us on campus. And so we got married as a queer political act of joy and protest. And we had the whole community. So none of our families came. It was a 2-month elopement and then marriage on campus. We had the president of the college officiate it. And then, we had the whole community and of Walla Walla. Fashion comes and goes and style never changes. I mean, I feel like that's one of, like, it's one of those things where it's just like you could apply that surely to anything, but I'm like, I do think style does change constantly, and I think what's really in style right now is back you'll see in like the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, you're like, okay, here's the main culture, and then here's the counterculture. You have the British invasion, or like in the 90s, Karl Lagerfeld, like Coco Chanel, this is what everything should look like. Everything is a remix and everything comes back to where things once were. What I find very interesting about the fashion now is the communities that are driven from them. There are like 50, 100, hundreds of micro fashion communities. Akubi, J fashion, Lolita, punk, alternative fashion, like just like these like kidcore, clowncore, decora, like all of these like subcultures of very specific types of the ways people dress themselves and the way people categorize themselves. And I think the community in style is what I really love about fashion today, is that it just seems so like everybody is in it together, like trying to like, oh, layer this, do that, pattern mix this. I feel like there's a lot less rules than there was. You'll find a lot of vintage, kind of higher end graphic tees. So like your tunes, your 1994 Looney Tune freezes, because that's very popular in men's fashion right now. And to like appeal to my guys, I gotta look the part. I gotta have the language. Oh, I got my 1994 original tunes freeze. Looney Tune graphic tees are very popular right now in men's streetwear like that. You'll find incredible shoes. I've upped my shoe game since 2024. I got my Fila Disruptors. I got my Shadow Forces. I really like my Air Max 1997s. I'm a shoe person. I don't have a ton of shoes, but the shoes that I have, I do love. So you'll find that I'm missing some pants. I'm missing some shirts. I mean, even during that show, like, I told my models, I'm like, hey, bring sneakers, but it's very traditional for female models to bring like heels, nude, black, and that's like, and so some did not bring any tennis shoes. And I was like, oh, and so, but the girls that did, I'm like, okay, what size shoe are you? What size shoe are you? And this guy's wearing his shoes. This girl's wearing his shoes. And you'll see me backstage being like, okay. And then one of my models comes out. She's frilly socks on and strappy black shoes, and she's wearing the most streetwear thing I've ever seen. I'm like, that's not going to do. And I had already given my shoes to a different model to complete her look. And I was like, so I'm not wearing any shoes anymore. I'm like, and so I'm wearing somebody else's shoes. I'm like, okay, you're going to wear these and my socks. So, and I have to go out at the end, and I don't have socks. I don't have shoes. And I'm like, I don't got any more socks and shoes. You'll find in my closet that it's looking a little empty. And so it's really just a lot of audacity. It's a lot of audacity, and a lot of people saying no, but then people were like, how are you doing all these things? It's just like, just ask. There's nothing wrong with it. The worst they could say is no.
You did a great job.
We're proud to be sponsored by Litchfield Distillery. They like to call themselves batchers in honor of the early farmers of Northwest Connecticut, a region known for its ample yield of wheat, corn, and barley. Growing these crops in the rocky terrain requires grit and determination. For the past decade, Litchfield Distillery has been busy distilling Litchfield County's best harvests into fine craft spirits, one batch at a time. Litchfield Distillery, the spirit of hard work.